Purpose of my clinic here today is to show you how to correct a problem with the new Rapido N-scale GMD-1 locomotives. Not all the locomotives have this problem, just some of the ones, CN ones with the stripes and the Northern Alberta locomotives. Problem is that the pickup wires from the rails were wired up wrong. So when you apply power to the track, locomotives run in opposite directions. So I'm going to show you a very easy way to correct that problem, and hopefully it will lead to satisfaction and less problems on your N-scale DC layout. The problem isn't apparent running DCC mode because you just select the direction and you run. A lot of decoders these days, locomotives are coming with dual mode decoders, DC and DCC, that controls the lights and everything else. So we don't really want to take out all the DCC chip, because then we'd have to rewire all the lights and LEDs and that sort of thing. So this is a much easier fix. So for demonstration purposes, I have the GMD-1 locomotive that we're going to be working on, and a standard Atlas locomotive running in DC power. So when we apply power to the tracks, you'll notice that they both run in opposite directions. And it doesn't matter whether you turn them around or not, they'll still run opposite. So that's a little bit of frustration when you want to run double-headed or something like that. So the first step is to take out the couplers, and then we can pop the chassis out of the shell. This is probably the most tedious part of the whole operation. So these just have a couple of Phillips screw in each coupler. Back those out and remove them with our trusty tweezers here. So we have to take the handrails off the cab so that when we take the shell off, you won't break those handrails, the connections. So the shell separates along the top of the frame here. So if we get very carefully under the cab, you can see the gap appearing here. On the other side too. So it just needs a little bit of encouragement. Very carefully so we don't break anything. All the nice delicate N-scale parts. And we don't want to put any screwdriver marks on the shell either. We have the shell off and our frame chassis. You can notice the N-scale decoder here all taped down, and so we're going to take this piece of tape off, and we can set it aside and use it later. So from the decoder we have red wire. Red wire from the decoder right there, going to one side of the frame. So this is the truck pickups, going one to each truck. On the other side is the black wire right here. And likewise, that's going to this side of the frame pickup. So here's our piece of shrink tubing where the joint is made, and there's the one on the red wire. So the first thing we can do, snip through those. We want to leave as much of the red and black wires as we can because we have to strip a little bit. So with the black wire cut, we can take off the old piece of insulation here. So what we want to do is wire this to this other side over here where we cut off the red connection onto this connection right here. So we want a small piece of shrink tubing to put on there to do the job of the piece that we cut off afterwards. Slip it over the piece to the going to the truck we want to replace. Now we want to strip a little bit of insulation off the end here so we can connect it. Just melt that a little bit. You use a little drop of rosin liquid flux on those to clean them up when we solder. A little bit of tin on our tip. Hold those together. Oops, join one. No. Okay, so this side I'm getting a little bit longer stripped wire because it's easier to connect those two pieces together. These are the two that are going to the truck. There we go. Just nick the wire with the soldering iron so it will strip where you want it to. And twist these two pieces together. Put our second new piece of shrink tubing over that. Yeah, they didn't. Twist too well. Two pieces of wire through the shrink tubing, twist the ends together, On this one remember we are connecting onto the red wire, so I need to strip a little bit here. Some rosin flux to clean the connections, put a little bit of solder on them. Now here's one way we can put a little bit of a hook on here to make it easier to connect these. Clip off your excess wire. You flatten out the hooks, and then the tubing will slide up over the. Just slide the shrink tubing over the joint, and we already have the black one over the joint. We'll just adjust that a little bit so we can take our heat gun and point it away from any handrails. Shrink those two together. And that should be it. Just to test before we put the shell back on, we apply power and it's running, they're both running the same direction now. So we can take the piece of tape that we removed earlier, and that will serve to hold the wires down on the frame in place neatly, so we can fit the shell over afterwards without any wires tangling up, going where they don't want to go. So now we take the frame, the shell, place it back over the locomotive or the chassis, and very carefully get the handrails so that they're not getting caught and bent up. On both sides, and the shell snaps into place. Now we just have to put the couplers on. So now we put the shell back on. We can test it again to make sure everything runs before we put the couplers in. Yes, it's good. We don't have any pinched wires, so all that remains now is to put the couplers in and enjoy your new Rapido GMD-1. Thank you.